Hey, everybody, and welcome to Think Good Conversations. I'm your host, Deb Cummins Stellato, and today we're talking about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Why am I talking about this topic, and why does it matter in our ability to think good? Well, I wanted to share a little story with you today because this month, as many of you know, is Black History Month. But hopefully, as you've seen through all the work that I do, my podcasts, my workshops, my basic life philosophy is around creating safe spaces for people. And I had a very unique experience in my own life around getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So let me share a little bit about that with you. About 10 years ago, I was asked to join at that time what was the largest diversity, equity, and inclusion firm in the country. And that company worked in a space of supporting diversity and inclusion for the top executives at Fortune 100 brands. I'm talking companies like Pepsi. And here I was, a white girl living in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, getting the opportunity to have this incredible opportunity to build a leadership platform, leadership training program for folks within this company. So I actually had a business partner at that time. His name is Dennis, and we decided to take on this challenge. So I said, first part of this lesson is I got really uncomfortable when I said yes to leaving my really great job at the time at a local college. And this job was a virtual job. It was way before we talked about it as virtual job. It was actually called telecommuting. So my company was in Cincinnati, and once a month I'd fly out to Cincinnati, and otherwise I'd be doing my business right from my house. And when I started in that role, my role was to help support building a leadership capacity at the firm. But as time went on, I got very involved in new business development. And it was probably the most powerful professional experience I've had. And I'm going to tell you why. It was so powerful because it was so outside of my comfort zone. This company was a fully owned African American firm, owned by 5 managing partners, all Black men and women who had come from Procter & Gamble, an incredible company, especially in this space. And I was in this firm. I was probably one of 10 at the most white people, white women certainly, working in this firm. And so, one of the things that I really learned during this time was to really understand what it feels like to be the other in a room. And I think this concept is incredibly important as we look at Black History Month. What are you doing to get uncomfortable in growing your understanding and your capacity to think good about diversity and inclusion? You can't do it sitting passively in your chair. I can tell you that. You can't do it just by adding one program. My experience is that once you understand what diversity and inclusion look like, your whole life becomes about supporting people, creating safe spaces. And so this experience for me, being a one and only, oftentimes in a room, was a really unique experience for me. And I wanted to share this with you because I think that as we approach this topic, you need to ask yourself, what are you willing to do to think differently? What limiting beliefs might you need to let go of, right? I may not have said yes to this opportunity if I really understood at that time in my own personal journey what it would mean for me, because I hadn't done some of the hard work that I needed to do on me to show up fully in that particular role. I also had to think courageously and think differently because there were multiple challenges for me in that space. Ultimately, we weren't able to launch what we initially were hired to do because the culture hadn't set the table for us to be effective that way. But what I was able to do was to pivot into a role, this new business development role that I hadn't been in before, that taught me so much about how to share with others my passion for creating a world where we treat each other with compassion. And so I'm going to ask you today, as we kick off Black History Month, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to think good, think differently, and get out of your seat and get in action around this topic? What are you willing to do? And that's it today for our conversation on Think Good. Take care and have a great Thursday.